Alright, so coming at you with another comic review, and this is one of a book I got, and that is Godzilla Summer Island Monster Island Summer Camp. Anyway, so this was an original graphic novel that that IDW had put out. This is one I got myself, and I've been wanting to get, it's kind of cool to see a original graphic novel from IDW. I know they've done them before, but this is the first one they did with Godzilla, and it just kind of showcases how willing Toho has lately been willing to work with a lot of other companies, especially like IDW, and allowing them to do something like this, because I can guarantee you in the past they would have been like, nah, you're not allowed to work on this and do any changes to it. It's too weird, it's too out there, this is not what we want. But honestly, I think this does kind of have that feel of it, like a Showa Toho movie. So before we get into that, let's talk about who's behind this creative team. We have Oliver Ono on artwork, Rosie Knight as writer, Jody Troutman as letterer, and Nick Moreno as color assistant. I think I got all the names right. That's a first. Weird also that they put the artist's name before the writer's name. Usually it's the other way around, but I digress. Anyway, so Godzilla Monster Island Summer Camp tells the story of a young girl named Zelda who is, after her mother is scrimped and saved to send her to a summer camp for art school, it turns out the art school has been turned into a sports summer camp, and she now is forced to bunk with a pair of other misfits, a girl with a prosthetic arm named Wheezy, and another person by the name of Ramuko, and they are the most athletic of the three of them. So the three of them basically, bond and become great friends and all that. But Zelda then discovers there's a portal in the waterfall that leads to Monster Island. Yeah, in this story, Monster Island is like another universe. So we got kind of an isekai kind of story. And in there, we get, well, you can probably guess who she meets and befriends. It's Minya. And from there, they basically discover that there is a conspiracy going on at the summer camp where the monsters have been divided from them. Now, this is for a graphic novel, for IDW's first Godzilla graphic novel, it's actually pretty good. I'm not counting the trades, of course, because that's all collected issue. This is just like a solid one-and-done story. I also really like the artwork in here. Just look at how bright and vibrant it is. I just love the vibrancy of the artwork. I love how all the monsters look very detailed, and there's differences to them, despite there is some creative differences to some of the monsters, but there is enough of them to see oh yeah, they haven't been changed too different. Godzilla doesn't really play a big role in here. It's more about although yes, Godzilla plays a vital role, he's not really a major mentioned monster. Minya is the main focus here, and this is only the second time that IDW has used Minya in one of their comics. The first being in a cameo role at the end of a Godzilla Rivals book with Rodan and Ebera in it. So, yeah. This comic is putting Minya for a long time, and I know Minya isn't really liked by a lot of people. Minya isn't really liked by the vast majority of the Godzilla fandom, but it is kind of cool to see him in a story like this, where he's playing with the kids and being their mascot, in a Saturday morning cartoon. It actually helps. It actually makes the most sense. I also like the decision of choosing other monsters in here, having Kamacuras, King Caesar, and Ebera as other major roles. Yes, Godzilla and Mothra play roles, but they're minor. They do play a good part in it, but yeah. But the comic does focus on Minya and his friendship. This actually feels more like a nice little anime isekai version of Godzilla's Revenge, but it doesn't suck. That's the cool thing, is that it does have a lot of the elements of Godzilla's Revenge, where it's someone going to a magical world, and it's Monster Island, and they befriend Minya, and they're fighting human villains outside. The only thing missing, and I feel like this comic could have done with that character, is Gabara. It's really if you put Gabra in here as one of the main antagonist, this would have literally been a remake of Godzilla's Revenge. And I have this sneaking suspicion they wanted to, but couldn't. Yeah. The human villains are just kind of boring. They're just here to be like, oh, we're just a bunch of jocks, and there's also an evil corporation. Yeah. This really depends... And also, the monster... There is no evil monsters. Even with Kamacuras and Ebra, who are considered villains, they're not really evil in here. In fact, Minya convinces Kamacuras to calm down. So yeah, the monsters are just kind of treated as like another part of this world. They're just like, they want to exist. They want to be free. I really... While we do get some other things with the other characters... Wheezy and Ramuko are good supporting characters, and you really like their progression with the friendship with Zelda, and it's a solid friendship. One of the few gripes I have with this book, because this is meant for like a young adult audience, this definitely screams a young adult book. This comic does kind of drift away from the main focus a few times, and you're like, "Hey, woohoo! Come here, plot, come back." I know this comic is like what, over over near 200 pages, I think. Could be wrong, but yeah, it does kind of like drift away from the main plot sometimes, and that does get a little bothersome here and there. But for the most part, it's a solid book. Do I recommend this to like diehard Godzilla fans? That depends. Godzilla is probably the most malleable, one of the most malleable properties out there, and this isn't like some dark and gritty Godzilla story. It's like I said, it's like a better version of Godzilla's Revenge. It's like a much better version of that comic. So I gotta hand it to him. This was a nice little story, and this is definitely a comic I could see you could give this to if you want to get your kids into reading Godzilla or reading comics in general. Here's your starter. Anyway, so there you go, guys. Pretty decent. In fact, it's not and probably also why I'm not so bent out of shape for it is that it was only $13. This is a pretty cheap graphic novel, honestly. Anyway, so there you go, guys. That's my review for Godzilla Monster Island Summer Camp. You guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of it? Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.